right, folks, in about 2-3 minutes, WUFO Sport Report, we will go live on national radio airways. We'll talk about the Buffalo Bills versus the Atlanta Falcons. We'll touch up on some other scores as well that's going on right now and what already happened in the world of sports. We will get into all of that and more. All right, get ready. Couple minutes, 2 minutes. I'm being told by Anita Razor Sharp in the building. I'm being told by Anita Razor Sharp 2 minutes before we go on. WUFO Sport Report, right. We will go live. And you hear that on national radio airways. That's right. Buffalo Bills versus the Atlanta Falcons. We'll touch up on some other scores as well. That's right. What's going on right now and what already happened in the world of sports. We will get into all that and more. All right. All right. Y'all know what to do. Like and share. Please like and share. This is going to be a great show. You can call in. The number is right there. You see it, 716-837-1112 today, all right? 837-1112 and 716 area code. Make sure you call in, all right? Because in 2 minutes, we are about to get into some of the best sports talk in the world.
To the WUFO Sports Report. Behind the scenes, the real story of the hard foot.
Here it comes.
And in the ring, from the college details to the pro, a close look at high school sports as well. The WUFO Sports Report every Sunday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday and Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Coach Lewis on WUFO 1080 AM Power 96.5 FM. Worldwide on the legendary Power965radio.com.
All right. Y'all know what time it is. It is WUFO Sport Report time. You know, I'm the fire starter. Andre the Torch Robinson is in the building. We got a great show for you. By the way, if you are tuned in on social media right now, Facebook, YouTube, make sure you tune in and listen into this show because it's going to be a scorcher. All right. This is Power 96.5 Mix 1080. All right. And make sure y'all know what to do. Make sure you bang my line immediately. Bang my line 716-837-1112 as we get into some of the greatest of sports talk right now. I got to get into this Buffalo Bills Atlanta Falcons game, folks. I got to get into it. It is not the way we thought the Buffalo Bills were going to win, but nevertheless, the Buffalo Bills find a way this week to win another football game, one of major significant importance, because guess what, Bills Mafia? I know y'all got to be happy about this. My line should be going crazy right now because the Bills, for the fourth year out of 5 years now, have made the playoffs, folks. By the way, shout out to everybody that's tuned in. And yes, Dalton Smith, you are right. Congratulations to the Bills for making the playoffs. And I think I got a caller on the line already, don't I? Good God almighty. Bang my line, 716-837-1112. Caller, what's going on? Let's go. You want to talk about sportsmanship? I got a guy all the way from Atlanta right now calling into the radio show right now, folks. I told you this is the station of power where we promote unity and community all over the world, all over the world. We got a guy from Atlanta. Can you state your name, caller, for us? Please state your name. Mr. Fine. Hi, I know who this is. Ron, what's going on? So, Ron, guess what? I'm going to ask you, because I know you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. I need to know, how did you feel about the game, and what did you take from it? Definitely. True. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I will say this. Hats off and good sportsmanship, because my guy from Atlanta just called on the losing end of today's 29-15 defeat of the Atlanta Falcons. Sportsmanship and gameship to the Atlanta Falcons for putting up a fight today. They definitely, in the first half, had the Bills on the ropes, especially with the mistakes that the Buffalo Bills made in this game. Were you surprised that Josh Allen threw 3 no-nos? Were you surprised that he threw 3 can't-do-that's in the game? Were you surprised? I just want to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Especially the interception that Hardman got in the end zone. Again, I want to say that the Bills won, the Buffalo Bills, Bills Mafia, the Buffalo Bills won 29-15, but do not brag on the victory today. Yes, they make the playoffs again for 4 times out of 5 years, but do not brag, and I'm going to tell you why. 3 interceptions, this wasn't a pretty game. Josh Allen, 120 yards, this wasn't a pretty game. 11 of 26 passing, this wasn't a pretty game. All right? I'm not even going to get into this QBR. But nevertheless, this was not a pretty game whatsoever for Josh Allen, whatsoever. Forcing passes. We haven't seen him do that. I talked about this earlier in the show, early in the morning, on the Buffalo Bills edition of Rise Up Early. I talked about Josh Allen this year not forcing the play and seeing the game slow up for him. But today, I don't know what happened in the second quarter, Ron. Correct? Okay, well, guess what? That's something to be talked about. I'm gonna be very honest with you. We've had multiple conversations about Brian Daboll and the play calling, and again, today you've seen a moment of the game in the second quarter where questionable play calling came into play. I'm gonna be very honest with you. Seeing that only Josh Allen can run the football and get it in the end zone kind of discouraged me a little bit. It kind of discouraged me a little bit in goal line situations. It kind of concerned me. Nevertheless, though, Devin Singletary had 23 carries today. 23 carries today for 110 yards. So this is the first time Devin Singletary has had 100 yards in God knows how long. If you know the answer, I'm going to ask everybody in the world right now. You can call in 716-837-1112. If you know the last time that Devin Singletary had a 100-yard game as a running back in the NFL, you can call me right here, all right, on the station of power. All right, call me, 716-837-1112. Now, getting back to it, Josh Allen, 15 carries. Too many times. Too many carries today. Isaiah McKenzie had 1 carry. Zach Moss had 5 carries for 39 yards. And yes, oh yes, we got callers on the line. So, Ron, I appreciate you calling. Call me back later, all right? We'll talk. All right. Next caller on the line, what's up? 716-837-1112 is the number to call. What's up, caller? Oh, yes, Rise Up Family is in the house. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I just told you this earlier. All right. Power 96.5 is the station of power. We are the station of unity and community. And here's the caller from Dallas, Texas, right now from El Paso, Texas, actually. Marcus, what's going on, Marcus? Happy New Year. Absolutely. I know exactly how we do this thing. Sunday is a holiday of positivity, especially in the sports world. I know your Dallas Cowboys is playing, but we'll talk about them later. Oh yeah, I want to know. I want to know how you felt about this Bills Atlanta Falcons game real quick before we get to the next caller. Not at all. I didn't want to get into that, Marcus, but go ahead. Right. Right. My my son is 17. My son is 17. Right. My son is 17. I just want to put that out there. His jersey number is 17. I just want to put that out there. For putting out fires you started. Come on. Preach. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Putting in work. Nah, you can't. Come on. That's right. You right about that. Mm-hmm. That's right. You're right. Yeah, very frustrating, by the way. Again, you are absolutely right. We literally have the motto, not one and done. Okay? Not one and done. I talked about this early on Buffalo Bills edition to Rise Up Early. You are absolutely correct, Marcus. I love your sentiments. Thank you very much for calling in. I know we got another caller on the line. So, caller, what's up? I think we got another caller. Okay. Well, Marcus, let me ask you this question real quick because here's what the Bills did that they haven't been able to do a lot, and that's run Devin Singletary. How did you feel about his? How did you feel about his performance today? All right. Nevertheless, I felt great about Devin Singletary's performance. 2 touchdowns, 23 carries, 110 yards. It was a phenomenal output. Again, if you have any sentiments you want to talk about the Bills and the Falcons game, call 716-837-1112. You can bang my line. This was a game of interest, definitely, because the Buffalo Bills had the playoff, the playoff lives, their playoff hopes and dreams was on the line this week. And they won by 2 touchdowns. Like I said earlier in the show, I said they better win by 10. And they better have almost 400 yards. And they did. But they didn't do it the way you usually would think they would do it. They did it on the ground today. 233 yards from the Buffalo Bills and 4 touchdowns on the ground, which is a good sight to see. Nevertheless, Devin Singletary, again, was the star of the game. You got to give him his props. 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 carries in a blistering cold Buffalo Bills versus Falcons game. So you got to give him his props, and you have to give the Buffalo Bills props for the adjustments that they made in the second half, because the first quarter looked really good. The first quarter, the Bills were up 14-2 after the Stevenson fumble in the beginning of the game, which listen, I'm the one who believes in a parallel universe. It's very interesting because we dogged Isaiah McKenzie for fumbling a couple of weeks ago. He was sat on the bench, right? And then Stevenson comes in and he fumbles the football too, giving up a safety early. And my sentiments on social media was like, I guess Stevenson won't be seen for the rest of the year now, huh? Because the pattern was you get sit if you fumble. Nevertheless, that didn't happen. Isaiah McKenzie didn't return punts like that today, and I didn't see much of Isaiah McKenzie today. 1 catch, 6 yards. 1 carry, 3 yards. I don't know. I will say this. They were up 14-2, though nevertheless with Josh Allen's 2 touchdown runs. Good. I'm glad you found a way to get in the end zone. Not the way I would like it, though, especially when you have running backs, right? You would think that you would pound the ball, get it in the end zone with your running backs. That didn't happen. Fine. We know Josh Allen is a running, touchdown scoring machine, right? But then in the second quarter, it got ugly. Josh Allen forced passes. Passes got tipped, especially the one to Harmon, where I thought that they should have been running the ball. That created a 14-point momentum swing in which the Bills could have been up 21-5 at that point in time. And instead, they ended up going in the half because Josh Allen threw back-to-back interceptions for the first time in his NFL career, threw back-to-back interceptions off of tipped passes. All right, trying to force the action a little bit. Josh, got to work on that. Marcus touched on it earlier on the phone call. He's right. Can't make those type of mistakes when you have 5-6 people around your star wide receiver. Live for another down, throw it away, or go out of bounds. And that didn't happen. That blew a big lead, and it allowed Atlanta Falcons to come back and gain momentum and then score 10 points off of those turnovers. And at the half, it was 15-14. And I'm like, I can't believe this. This is unbelievable that I'm seeing this right now from a team who's trying to get ready for the playoffs. And I think we got a caller on the line. Yes, we do. Caller, what's going on? Oh, yes, the Mighty Oba was at Highmark Stadium today. Mighty Oba, I got some questions for you. Question number 1, sir. How did you feel about the Bills' performance in the first half? Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Pat. I definitely questioned the second quarter, especially as far as the run game concerns. Again, in the red zone, I mean that tip pass that Harmon caught in the end zone created a 14-point momentum swing, and essentially led to Atlanta leading by a point at halftime. Your thoughts on the goal line, the the goal line scheme. What's going on with that? Again, how do you feel about that? And what would you do differently? Obviously, because I'm listening to you and you're like, they didn't run the ball in the first half. So what's your thoughts on that?
In the second half, but that should have been there in the first half if you had just committed to the run. You've got
Correct, they did. Correct. Yeah, tunnel side is definitely. Yeah, there we go again. By the way, we will talk more on the Buffalo Bills, Atlanta Falcons. We got the Mighty Oba in the house, Pat Freeman in the building, who was at Highmark Stadium. We're going to go to a commercial break, and after, when we come back, we're going to get razor sharp right back into this Bills Falcons talk, all right? We'll see you in a moment. Buffalo Bills, Pat still on the line? Is Pat still on the line? Okay. Hey, Pat. Okay, he can hear me? Okay. This is 20. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear the callers that's calling in, but nevertheless, I appreciate y'all. We are talking Buffalo Bills, Atlanta Falcons talk right now. I got the Mighty Oba on the line. He was at Highmark today. He is giving us some synopsis on what occurred at the stadium. All right. So I invite you all to hit the power page. All right. Hit the power page. WUFO Power 96.5 power page. All right. Look it up. Subscribe to it. Get on it. All right. All right, Bills Mafia, we are back. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in right now to the WUFO Sport Report. I am Andre the Torch Robinson. The fire starter is in the fire starter is in the building, and of course, I am in the studio with the lady who inspires me, crazy Miss Anita Razor Sharp, in the building. All right. You getting razor sharp sports talk right now. And on the line, I have the mighty Oba, Pat Freeman, in the building, talking, giving us the up to the minute, up to the second, real life analysis, because he was right at Highmark Stadium in that cold. Pat, we were talking about the Buffalo Bills and how the inconsistency thereof of some coaching decisions. Talk more on that as far as Sean McDermott is concerned.
You go out and you watch what goal the kickers are having difficulty in. This is the second game that Sean McDermott has chosen to give the opposing team the win in the fourth quarter. And why is he doing it? I don't know. Atlanta won the toss, they chose to receive. You then get to choose what goal. So I just think he doesn't care about having a win in the fourth quarter. And the difference between winning and losing is a close game. And that's what happened against New England. And it happened today. It just was a foreign team that just was not up to snuff, and your team didn't play as well. So last week, they must have been reading their press clippings about how good they are. So this week, I think the Lakers stink, even though it wasn't at the end, it wasn't close. That game was a lot closer, and it should have been. You allow a team that really only had quarter of Patterson out there. He got hurt. And after that, it was a relatively mediocre effect with an 80 back. So I didn't understand the game plan. You didn't go to Isaiah McKenzie very much today. It seemed like it was the Josh Allen show in the first half. And I think you're setting him up for an injury. I mean, running a quarterback like a running back is a recipe for disaster in the NFL. And everybody knows these are the best physical specimens on the planet. And you're allowing your quarterback to take vicious hits that is going to culminate into injury. And it's funny that a couple of weeks ago, you saw a shell of himself in Cam Newton, who took too many hits early in his career, and now look at it. I mean, that's Josh Allen 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Or sooner.
Yeah. 716-837-1112 or anybody who is on Facebook or YouTube right now. If you could tell me how many rushing attempts Josh Allen has had this year, I will give you a Buffalo Bills flag that I have personally. All right. So put it on social media, put it on YouTube, or call into the station, 716, the station of power, 716-837-1112, and tell me how many rushing attempts this year Josh Allen has, because Pat is right. It's a lot of rushing attempts. It's the Josh Allen show again. The first quarter, it looked all glit and glam, but in the second quarter, it didn't. When the Atlanta Falcons put up 13 points and the Bills didn't even score in the second quarter. Talk about a little bit Devin Singletary in this run game, Pat. He had 110 yards today and 2 touchdowns.
Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are adequate running backs, but they've got a whacked-out offensive coordinator who doesn't want to run the football. That's the problem. Between 2 running backs, you rarely have 20 carries. That's unheard of in the NFL. Unheard of. And Brian Dable is the reason that this team has struggled this year. You can't blame it on the defense. I think Leslie Frazier is one of the most innovative defensive minds I've ever seen. They don't have a top-flight front four, yet he has been creative in his play calling to make this one of the top defenses in the NFL. Offensively, this guy has no excuse other than his bad play call.
Yeah, speaking on Leslie Frazier, the number one total defense belongs to the Buffalo Bills, folks. Bills Mafia, you should be very proud, very happy about that because, in the playoffs, defense resonates in the playoffs. So hopefully this defense can carry the momentum that they've had the last 17 weeks into the playoffs. You still got one more game to go, even though they already clinched the playoffs this week. But you got one more game to go to get the division, the AFC East division title for the second straight year. And Leslie Frazier is leading the charge. We talk about leading the charge. That's been a theme for the Bills for a long time. He's been leading the charge. And you're right, they don't have a great front four, but they got 5 sacks today.
I mean, that's because of the innovative play calling of Leslie Frazier. And that's why rumors are flying about him not being with us any longer after this season. And that's for real. I mean, he's being mentioned in multiple seasons at this point. And the other rumor is Ken Dorsey will be going with him. So, we better enjoy having this great defensive mind while we can. And it's a good thing that your head coach is a defensive guy. So they should be able to maintain the level of excellence that they have over the last few years. And that's one thing they've been able to do with all the changes they've had on defense is play a form of competitive defense. I mean, there's been some lapses against the run, and I think those are personnel issues more so than scheme. But for the most part, Leslie Frazier has been one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and certainly it looks like he's going to be rewarded with a second stint as the head coach.
Now, Anita Razor Sharp, because I know you love sports gossip. You just got some just now. Did you hear the rumors? Absolutely, Pat. Tell her one more time what's going on with the Bills in these rumors real quick.
Well, the rumor is that Leslie Frazier is the lead candidate for multiple head coaching positions. The Raiders and the Bears are two that are mentioned right now. And also, the other rumor is that he's going to take Ken Dorsey along with him to wherever he decides to go.
So how likely are these rumors to be true?
Well, let's think that Leslie Frazier was on the Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears in 1985, so he's got a pretty good relationship there. And I think these are pretty respected rumors. He was a finalist for the Houston Texans position last year, and I think he is so well respected around the league that there's a very good chance that he's going to get a second opportunity.
Oh, that sounds like a good rumor, huh? That's a good thing.
Now, speaking of Leslie Frazier and his defense today, who shut down the Atlanta Falcons in the second half. Pat, let's talk a little bit about the second half real quick and how you felt. Obviously, you giving a lot of praise and flowers right now to Leslie Frazier and what he did with this defense. But here's a question that comes into mind as well as you talk about the second half of this game. How come no Pro Bowl nods for this number one total defense? And how did you feel about the, performance today with them?
Well, that's because I don't see two players that have been consistent during their whole tenure here. Is Micah Hyde and Jordan. I don't think anyone can argue with that.
Best safety tandem in football.
By far. I think it's not even close. And for them not to make the Pro Bowl, something's wrong. Obviously, Tre'Davious White getting injured, he would certainly be there. But Ed Oliver has had a very good season. I don't see why he has not been given more consideration. Maybe not the season that's Pro Bowl level, but I think Matt Milano has had a very good season. Tremaine Edmonds, I think Tremaine needs to work on his point of attack. And that's my biggest problem with him from the middle. I would like to see him as an outside person a little bit more than they're on the inside at this stage of his career.
Yeah, you know what? There was a play in the game, Pat, that you saw where Matt Ryan kind of pulled the rabbit out of the hat and tricked Tremaine Edmonds. It was the pass. It was the quick pass that he threw to Mike Smith as he had some room to kind of, scramble out of the pocket. Tremaine Edmonds kind of followed him, and then he hit the running back that Tremaine Edmonds was guarding. Is those some of the things that you're talking about as far as point of attack?
Definitely. And he gets caught out of position sometimes in his initial reads, and it hurts him. And I thought one of the telling plays this season was when he met Leonard Fournette and was unable to stop him. And a linebacker who wants to be in an elite status has to make it. And that was a game-changing play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's super important. We talked a lot about, maybe changing his position a little bit, taking him from the Mike and putting him at Sam, which is the outside linebacker position, giving him just a space to cover and then allowing him to be able to attack off the edge too, especially with Gregory Rousseau, who had a strip sack today. Can you just imagine those two on the side, maybe helping the Levi Wallace side out with some, pass deflections and things of that nature. Explain a little bit about that. How you feel about that? Should the Bills next year be thinking about maybe switching him from Mike to Sam?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to, if you're going to keep him, you need to find out where you can use him, where he's the most effective. Because right now, at the average cost that they would have to pay to retain his service, I do not see him being worth that value currently at his status of playing right now. So I would look at all options and how he could be evaluated and how well we can use him at this status. Because you've already picked up his fifth-year option, which brings him up to about $13 million per season. And I just, if you're going to extend him, he's got to be worth it. You can't keep paying people that are not giving you what you're paying. You got several guys out there right now, like Mario Adams. He's my frat brother. I love him. But, he's just not a top-level defensive end anymore. And neither is Jerry Hughes. These guys are at the end of their careers, and you can't afford throwing money at these guys if you're not getting the production. And your pass rush is basically manufactured by Leslie Frazier, bringing people from different directions. And your front four is unable to sustain any type of real pass rush against the quarterback. And just you had a statue of liberty today in Matt Ryan. It's just not going anywhere. I mean, you're very lucky to have that.
All right, interesting enough. So, speaking of organizational moves going forward, because obviously they made the playoffs for the fourth time in 5 seasons, and next week they still got to play one more team. All right, they still got one more team to play. If I would have asked you in the beginning of the year, the Buffalo Bills fighting for their playoff lives after week 17, the room probably would have been silent, right? Nobody would have thought of that. So what organizational moves need to be made before we talk about next week's game? From you, what organizational moves need to be made? I love to hear this from you.
Well, like I said, Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes should be playing their last game at Highmark Stadium. These guys, to me, have seen their best days, and it's time to move on. You've got Woods Basher, Greg Rousseau, A.J. Espinoza. I mean, he's got to step up his play. He's been there 2 years, made a play today, and I can count on my hand how many plays this guy is making. Top-notch draft choice. He's got to do better. And it's time to see that. I think the Bills need some beef in the middle. I don't think the answer is Starla Tule. Starla Tule has seen his best days, and I think
Oh, you talk about Styler toilet paper.
Yes. I think in the middle you can do better, and I think those are areas that need to be addressed. I think you need to beef up in the middle in your defensive rotation. I think you're a little too small there, and you've got some physical teams that you've struggled with this season. And when teams play you from a physical nature, you've struggled. And I think Atlanta, what hurt them was when Pitts went out, they had very limited options. So that hurt them today. And a couple weeks ago against Cam Newton, he's a shell of himself. And plus, they had COVID issues and a tremendous amount of injuries also. But to tell you how far Cam Newton has fallen, Carolina decided to start Sam Donald instead of Cam Newton.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, the Power Station had one of the sports analysts for the Carolina Panthers on about a week and a half ago. And she was talking about Sam Darnold and Cam Newton a little bit and dropped some jewels about the Carolina Panthers and what they're thinking about doing coming up real soon as far as organizational moves. And this is why you are listening to Power 96.5 WUFO Sport Report, because we give it to you all right here. All right. And we got the legendary Mighty Oba on the line, giving us some thought about some organizational moves. And yeah, you know what? It is super important coming up. I talked about this earlier this morning about some of the moves that we've made and some of the things that we probably need to do better. But I'm going to ask Pat this question. What position needs to be targeted first, if any position needs to be targeted?
Well, I think your defensive tackles. I think you need some top-notch young defensive tackles, either via free agency or through the draft. You got to stop signing. Let's just end the Carolina player exchange. I think that you've gone through that as far as you can go. You need to start bringing in some guys that fit your rotational patterns that are bigger. And you need a front four that can bring pressure to the quarterback. Right now, your front four is incapable of doing that. You got defensive ends that you barely know they're playing the game. And you can't afford to do that in the NFL. If you really, really want to be a top-notch team, you need contributors at every position. And right now, the Bills are unevenly yoked on defense. Even though they're a top-5 defense, I think it's more because of Leslie Frazier as an innovative play caller, more so than your personnel.
Yeah, definitely. Teron Johnson had a sack today. Ed Oliver had a sack. Harrison Phillips had a sack. Gregory Rousseau had a sack. Mario Addison had a sack today. Tremaine Evans had 7 tackles, 5 solo tackles. Matt Bolano, 6 tackles today, 4 solo. Michael Hyde was in the mix with 5 tackles. Levi Wallace had a pass deflection. So did Dane Jackson. And the list just keeps going on. And when you talk about players who haven't done nothing, boy, oh boy, you mentioned AJ Epinesa, that Iowa standout. He had 1 tackle today. Congratulations on the 1 tackle, AJ. Come on, man.
Yeah, you got to show up. You're a top-notch draft choice, buddy. And on the stat sheet, that 1 tackle that we mentioned is all that he did. That's it. Come on, bro.
Yeah, that.
You're a top 3 round pick. You must be a contributor. Coming in, you have to do it. And one thing, I think he's lost too much weight. What happened? Dude, I mean, just keep dieting or what? And I think we need to say goodbye to Emmanuel Sanders. I think that was a waste. Emmanuel's a good guy, but Emmanuel's 34 years old. Gabriel Davis is coming into his own. Him and Josh Allen deserve to grow together. You know, Isaiah McKenzie has earned a right for an extension. So, you know, those are things I'd like to see right off the bat. And let's say goodbye to, Cole Beasley's a nice guy, but Cole Beasley makes a lot of money. I think you got a better all-around player than Isaiah McKenzie. And because you only have 1 football, me, he is the problem. Everybody says, oh, he's got great relationship with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen has worked his tail off to become the quarterback he has. But his problems and his struggles, I think, are directly linked to Brian Daboll's inability to put the right personnel groupings out there with the right plays.
Yeah, you make a great point with that. A lot of speed right there is what you just mentioned. A lot of speed. A lot of speed.
Same thing, if you remember with T.J. Yeldon.
Yeah.
Never used T.J. Yeldon. Never used him.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of TJ Yeldon, but you're right. They never really used TJ Yeldon at all. And I don't know if that was because of ball security issues, but nevertheless, you are on to something. I mean, Matt Breida and Devin Singletary and Isaiah McKenzie, guys who have a lot of speed. How do you defend that? Now, I agreed with you in everything you said except for the Cole Beasley situation. I get we pay, except for Cole Beasley. I get that we pay him money, but if we're going to get rid of somebody next year, I think you were right when you said Emmanuel Sanders. As a matter of fact, I know you were right because I mentioned it earlier. Emmanuel Sanders, give him his walking papers at the end of the year. He's 34, an aging wide receiver. And I think you go with Gabe Davis at the 2, Cole Beasley at the slot. You use Isaiah McKenzie to me as a Deebo Samuel type player and give him touches and stop running the ball with Josh Allen 15 times a game. Good God almighty. And we know where Stephon Diggs is going to be at that number 1 position. You run with that next season. That honestly, that's the way I kind of see it. But I mean, you saying get rid of both of them. I'm just wondering who else on the depth chart do you get? Do you go get somebody? Like, you're going to need more than 2 or 3 receivers.
You only got so many balls. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is only on a 1-year deal. So Isaiah McKenzie's on a 1-year deal. So it's a matter, are you going to re-sign him? Matt Breida's on a 1-year deal.
Right.
So if there's anybody you have to make a decision on, it's Cole Beasley.
Yeah, Cole Beasley had 2 catches for 22 yards today. 6 targets.
I don't think that's his fault. If you look at Josh had a bad day.
Yeah, he did. Definitely. Under 50% this week with 3 don't do that. 3 of those don't do that. That definitely isn't Josh Allen-esque. 120 yards, 11-26 again. Pat, what do they need to do next week? We got the New York Jets.
Come, take care of business. Don't fool around. I think they were reading their press clip. Josh Allen played his best game last week. You don't follow it with a mediocre. That's not a good sign. Even though you won, I think he pretty much knows he did not have a good game. And some of those balls that were tipped, he had no business throwing anyway. So, he just had a bad day. And honestly, the person that's not helping him is Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll's whole approach, to me, is reason for him to be the biggest change I make during the offseason. You need somebody in here that understands that running the football complements passing the football, especially at critical points of the game.
Yeah, I definitely
saw that in the second half.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've been one who has said multiple times that when the Bills can get a run game going, it's their best offense complementing the run and pass collectively. He hasn't been able to consistently get a run game going in 3 years.
Right.
Which is, to me, unacceptable, totally unacceptable. And you know what? Some of that is on Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott for missing out on players like Jonathan Taylor, who was picked in the 2nd round, who, you're a team who needed a run game, but you missed on them. Totally. I mean,
let me say this to you on that, though. If you take Jonathan Taylor, Devin Cook, Derrick Henry,
who will be back next week?
Compare them to Devin Singletary carries. Son, he doesn't even have half study that personnel with the running game. How can we evaluate Devin Singletary and he's got half the carries of the top backs in the league?
Well, so that's a good right. That's a good point that you make. But here's my question: is Devin Singletary really a workhorse back, especially with a guy with some ball security issues? Is he a workhorse back that he could be that he could be Dalvin Cook, that he can be Jonathan Taylor, that he can be, Derrick Henry?
Well, I'm putting it to you like this: we don't know, but God, that guy has had 7-8 carries in a game. He's a professional. If he can't hold on to the ball, you've got to get somebody in here who can.
Right about that.
That's the name of the game.
You are absolutely right about.
It was not a first-round pick, you know.
Right.
You had Le'Veon Bell sitting out there forever. I mean, there are some quality backs that you could have brought in that have proven to be able to carry the load. I mean, I know Le'Veon Bell arrived in Tampa like he was on a Krispy Kreme diet, but he has had some success in the league. But how do we know if Zach Moss and Devin Singletary can hold down the load if they're not given the opportunity? And if they're not able to do that, you get some people in here that can. That I agree with you is on Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, the Buffalo Bills 29-15 over the Atlanta Falcons. I know you guys are excited. Bills Mafia, you should be making the playoffs again for another season. We're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some other football talk and what's going around the world of sports. I got my guy, the mighty Oba, Pat Freeman, the legendary mighty Oba, Pat Freeman on the line. We'll be back. WUFO Sports Report.
Power 96.5, a blend of R&B and your favorite throwbacks.
I may be doctor needed for adoption, but I'm a mom first. My babies will be getting the COVID vaccine. The risk of COVID far outweigh any risk of side effects of the vaccine.
Shout outs coming up. I'm gonna shout out everybody that was watching today. So I'm gonna shout y'all all out. Shout out everybody. All right.
Our community for over 25 years. Accounting and tax preparation for your individual and business needs. Accurate, accredited, affordable. We at Charles Tax Service are committed to helping you succeed. Taxes done fast and done right. Open 6 days a week. Call Charles Tax Service today. 716-259-9314.
Make sure you get the health coverage you need. Lean on Molina Healthcare. For over 40 years, Molina has provided quality health insurance, including low or no-cost plan options. Learn more about Molina Healthcare today at leanonmolina.com.
Stopping out the competition with one click on Power965Radio.com. Join the wave of the future with Power965 Digital.
All right. The fire starter is back in the building. Andre the Torch Robinson here on the station of Power 96.5, WUFO Sport Report. I have on the line the legendary Pat Freeman, the mighty Oba, is in the building, giving you some of the sports information that you need. I want to send a couple shout outs real quick before we get into some other sports talk and some other NFL scores and things of that nature. Shout out to Dalton Smith. Shout out to Ty J. Seymour. Shout out to Giuseppe Cicciarelli. Shout out to Terrell Harris that's on here. Shout out to Adrian Aldry. All right. Shout out to you, Braxton Hills. Shout out to you as well. Walter Ringfield. Shout out to you. And Jacob Soul. Shout out to you as well. Thank you very much. People who support all the time. Thank you for listening, tuning in, and make sure you hit that power page. All right. That power page is important. Go get it. Go subscribe right now. If you don't got it, if you don't got access to it, go get access. And in about, I guess, T-minus 10 minutes, we're going to get access to Africa coming up too. All right. But right now, I gotta run down these scores. And Pat, here it goes real quick. The Torches 2-minute rundown. All right. The Chargers right now, currently in the fourth quarter, killing They are killing the Denver Broncos. I don't know if the Broncos are on a mile high or a stooping low. I don't know. But they're getting beat up badly, 34-13 by the Chargers, who are looking to make the playoffs this year. All right. San Francisco is winning 17-7, and they're at Houston's goal line. Houston, y'all had a problem all year. 3 minutes, 3 minutes left. Y'all gonna have another L on your resume. Trey Lance is killing it out there in San Francisco right now. That's right. You heard it. WUFO Sport Report. You getting the 2-minute rundown. 249 yards from Trey Lance, 2 touchdowns. E. Mitchell, 112 yards. And Brandon Ayuk with 4 catches and 94 yards to lead the San Francisco 49ers right now. It's 3rd and goal at the 9, and they looking to score. By the way, those Cowboys, how about them Cowboys getting beat up by the Arizona Cardinals right now? They got the ball, but they down 22-7, folks. The Arizona Cardinals said, we tired of losing. We've been losing ever since D-Hop went out, and we want to go out the season with a couple wins, some signature wins. And why not start with the 11-4 Cowboys, right? Now, my guy, Pat Freeman, talked about this team, which was the Carolina Panthers. They are down 2 right now to the New Orleans Saints, 12-10. The Lions, y'all been losing all season too. I'm sorry. I don't know what they would do. I don't know who's a worse franchise, Pat. Is it the Lions or is it the Texans? Which one? Lions, Texans, Jaguars. Let's add the Jaguars in the mix. Which one is the worst to you?
I think it's the Texans, because they allow Bill O'Brien to wreck their franchise. Just look at the talent they gave away like on fire sale. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins. You don't trade a DeAndre Hopkins man
For a bag of chips. For David Johnson.
They had the best offensive lineman in their division. They let him go. And you just went on and on. They allowed him to wreck that franchise.
Absolutely. Equimini St. Brown right now has 107 yards for Detroit, but that doesn't matter. Boyle has 203 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that doesn't matter because Rashad Penny for the Seattle Seahawks, 17 carries, 152 yards, 2 of those pay dirts, okay? 2 of those pay dirts, all right? And we talked about the Bills already, 29-15 over the Falcons. The Bears actually win a game this week, too, over the New York hapless Giants, the little Giants, 29-3. Saquon Barkley should be somebody maybe on the Bills' radar coming up soon. Maybe. We'll see, right? Bengals pull out a fantastic. Yes, I said fantastic. I keep telling y'all about these Cincinnati Bengals, and y'all didn't want to listen to me. Last week, I told Mookie Hawkins and DJ Ready Rob right here in the studio that the Cincinnati Bengals was going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and what happened, Pat? They beat them. Joe Burrow, 446 yards, 4 touchdowns in this game.
No question. Cincinnati's the team to reckon with.
Jamar Chase. A guy who said in the beginning of the year he wouldn't be able to catch NFL footballs. He was having trouble. 266 yards, just broke the rookie record. 11 catches, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns today. All right. Titans beat up on the Dolphins. I guess you ain't got to worry about the Dolphins no more in that playoff push. It's over. Titans 34-3. All right. David Carr, 23-20 over the Colts. Now, here's something interesting. I thought the Colts were going to actually, build on their successes lately. And then they let the Raiders do what they did today on the road and just beat them in the fourth quarter, 23-20. Jonathan Taylor had 108 yards. Carson Wentz did play. He was activated. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Derek Carr had 255 yards in this game. And speaking of 55, the Patriots put up 50 on the Jaguars today, 50-10. This wasn't even a game. Yes, it was 50-10. Matt Jones, 3 touchdowns, 227 yards. They said, we going to make the playoffs. We getting in here, okay? We're going to force our way into this thing. Tom Brady and those Bucks barely beat the Jets today, 28-24.
My guy, Antonio Brown, has absolutely meltdown.
Yes, I was about to say, Razor Sharp, you love sports gossip. I'm going to give you some sports gospel. Ready for this? Antonio Brown is no longer a Buck. as of today. Bruce Arians announced it earlier.
During the game.
Got undressed, threw his jersey into the crowd. He's done. He's done. It's over. Yeah.
There's no team
Wow.
sign in the game.
Wow.
If you can't play for Bruce Arians, you can't play.
The Eagles, 20-16, they beat the Washington football team. All right, 20-16. So shout out to those Philadelphia Eagles and Philadelphia fans. Rams, 20-19. Yes, they are on the move. Yeah, watch out. Watch out now. 6-3 on a row. Rams, 20-19 over the Ravens. The Ravens are having a total meltdown. Stafford sucks. And tonight, we got two games, by the way. One on Sunday night, one on Monday night. The Packers, Vikings tonight in Green Bay. All right. And then you have Monday night, Steelers, Browns. All right. I guess it's a game that doesn't matter because neither team are making the playoffs this year. So Ben Roethlisberger is done, and so is Baker Mayfield. He might be done as a Cleveland Brown. And with that being said, yes, and yes, they do. And with that being said,
On both sides of the ball, that's a team that I would not want to play.
absolutely. And with that being said, that's right. With that being said, I have the legendary Pat Freeman, the Mighty Oba, on your WUFO Sport Report. And guess what? We are out of time, folks, because it goes by so quickly. For Miss Anita Razor Sharp, for Andre the Torch Robinson, the Firestarter, for Pat Freeman. Oh, my God. Pat Freeman, the legendary Pat Freeman in the building. Thank you so very much for being on. And we are out. Make sure you, oh, by the way, pray for my brother Mookie Hoggins. Don't ask questions, just pray. All right? And wash your hands.
You've got it. That's the WUFO Sports Report. Catch us weeknights, Monday and Wednesday at 10 p.m. or Sunday at 6 p.m. on the legendary Mix 1080 AM. WUFO, Power 96.5 FM.
Serving Orchard Park, Lackawanna, Cheektowaga, Amherst, Buffalo. We are the legendary Mix 1080.
Another one in the books, folks. Another one in the books. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for supporting.